look at how they hold people out from studying mental illness. In my entire 45 years on the front lines, working virtually every kind of psychiatric institution in the United States and spending the last 10 years of my formal employment working psychiatric crisis in big hospitals across Tucson, I have never, ever seen a researcher on the front lines, ever. And I've worked in a lot of institutions for many, many years. I've never seen a researcher on the front lines. They will not allow them on. You know, you try to get a permission to do research in a psych hospital. Oh no, it's too dangerous. We can't risk you being hurt. Same thing with the prisons. You know, when we had a visitor at the prison, they were, especially a legislature, they were surrounded by Department of Corrections staff, so they couldn't talk to the inmates. They couldn't talk to the staff. Mm. They wouldn't let them communicate with the people in there. Now, everything looked fine, both in the state hospital. You look at the grounds, they were beautiful, manicured. The outside of the buildings looked fine, but you get inside and it was a hell. Some of those buildings were just absolute psychiatric hell. Yeah. You know, and they would just drug these people senseless just to keep them under control. Same thing with the prison. You walk into the prison, you won't see a cigarette butt anywhere. If one of the inmates throws a cigarette butt on the ground, all hell breaks loose. It's not permitted. You do not trash it. It looks pristine from the outside to fool the public, but on the inside, it's a can of worms. Same way with the psychiatric institutions. You know, so they will not allow researchers into these institutions to take a look at what's really going on. All the research comes from the drug company controlled educational institutions. And believe me, they are controlled by the drug companies. They're controlled by Big Pharma. Virtually nothing gets published unless Big Pharma gives it the okay. Mm-hmm. Nothing gets funded unless Big Pharma funds it. You know, if an institution starts putting out too much stuff that goes against what they want out there, they'll cut off their funding. Yep. So the United States medical system was taken over in like 1910 by Rockefeller and the Carnegie Foundation. They bought off Congress to write a law that no graduate school could graduate doctors unless they came from a university that taught pharmacology or pharmacological medicine. All right. So right away they cut off all other forms of medicine. Naturopathy.
Just on that point for the audience, and Jerry, I'm sure you can expand on that. My understanding is that prior to Rockefeller University, that America was naturopathic, decentralized, with far better health outcomes. It was largely doctors. Yes, they had fields of study, but it was largely private practice, and they had taken, they had educational backgrounds in various fields of study and medicine, and then the Rockefellers, who were previously the oil barons of the world, then realized, well, they could turn a barrel of oil into millions of dollars in pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals are derived from oil. And so they basically, through lobbying the government, basically outlawed, I think within 8 or 10 years, all naturopathic, and made allopathy the only form of medicine. And basically anybody practicing naturopathy was almost a criminal or something like that. Is that correct, Jerry? Right. And anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. You know, they put out something called the Flexner Report. They bought off Congress to pass laws that they had to go through this pharmacological medical education. Nobody could graduate medical doctors if they didn't come out of one of these institutions. So at that point, they knocked off naturopathy. They knocked off Tesla's violet ray. They knocked off acupuncture, any other kind of form of treatment.